One of the most popular videos on Media Mementos is Drawn Together Season 3 is absolute garbage, and even though I'm a big fan of the show, I stand by that wholeheartedly. And hey, the creators agree with me here, so you gotta admit, I'm at least onto something, right? Right? But it pains me that the only Drawn Together video I've done on the channel is something negative, and again, I love the show. People need to see why though. I need to explain why I've loved the show for so many years. I could talk about the episode Super Nanny and how it's one of the funniest things to ever hit TV, or I could talk about the episode that made me love the show in the first place, and since that's a lot simpler of a topic, I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna tell you how Requiem for a Reality Show made me love Drawn Together. So first off, how did I get introduced to the show? Well, I've known a little bit about it here and there, you know, seeing the occasional review or clip here and there on YouTube, but that's about it. I never sat down to watch a full episode, and honestly, I don't really know why. But then I saw Mr. Enter's review of the Drawn Together movie, and yes, I've seen a few of Mr. Enter's videos, and that's a topic in and of itself, and I'm not going to discuss them here. All you have to know is that I saw his review and went, no, it can't be that bad. So I checked it out myself, and yeah, guess what? It really was that bad. Even though I hated the movie, I couldn't get the show out of my head. I felt that for some reason, I had to give it a shot. It was this weird burning feeling inside that was compelling me to do it, and I decided, hey, why not? I'll give it a shot. So my one friend that knew what Drawn Together was told me, yeah, the show's really good, just don't watch the first 2 episodes first, they're not very good. He didn't want my image of the show getting tainted, and now that I've actually seen the first 2 episodes, they're not bad, they're just not as good as the show would later go on to be. The first episode I ever watched was episode 3, Gay Bash, and I thought it was very well written, especially having just seen the movie. It wasn't just gross for the sake of gross or random pop culture references scattered all throughout, although there were some kinds of jokes related to that here and there, but that wasn't all it was. There was slapstick, there was verbal humor, there was character banter, and there were actually interesting characters to be found. Okay, sure, they didn't do anything deep in this episode, but I liked their dynamics. I liked that Spanky was a sleaze with no morals whatsoever. I liked that Toot thought she was a beauty queen despite being really ugly. And I liked Clara saying these awfully offensive things while being so sweet and innocent that she doesn't realize it's wrong. I thought that there was a lot of potential with this, and they hit it out of the park most every time. So naturally, I had to see more, and that led me to episode 4, Requiem for a Reality Show, where I knew once and for all, this was going to be a show I would stick with, for sure. This episode did everything that Gay Bash did, but did it 10 times better. First of all, yeah, there's pop culture references, yeah, there's gross up, but they're done really well. The pop culture references aren't there just for the sake of, oh look, Star Wars is popular and we're having Toot look like Jabba the Hutt, ha ha ha. No, they actually make it not only in service to the plot, but they make it legitimately funny, because it's not just funny because haha Star Wars, it's funny because haha look how far Toot has fallen. This is the same thing with the gross out humor, for example, when Clara's woodland critter friends are being killed by Spanky, and also Waldor by proxy. The ways they get killed are so ridiculous and over the top and sometimes unnecessary that you can't help but laugh. And the biggest reason why these 2 bits are funny is because they're used sparingly. They're not done all throughout. That's one of the things the show would go on to struggle with in season 3. It would only be pop culture references and only be shock humor and nothing else. And because they're used sparingly, you never know when they're gonna show up. And sometimes they're pretty subtle, like this joke.
I don't have much of a gag reflex anymore.
Another thing I like about this episode is that we get a good view of every single character, even Ling Ling here. Ling Ling is a very strange character in Drawn Together because he's there, but he's also not. He doesn't really get a whole lot to do. He falls in that Maggie Simpson or Shelby Bitterman situation where because they don't talk, they barely get to do anything, at least in comparison to their other cast members, and Ling Ling, yeah, he gets that quite a bit. Which is a real shame because Ling Ling's one of my favorites in the entire show. More on that some other day. Character quest. Ling Ling gets a fair bit to do here. Not only is he gorging himself with the rest of the team that put the egg in the bucket, but he's also constantly getting in the way of Toot's overeating, and then later bulimia. Things constantly happen to this guy, and he just takes it in stride. But everyone else gets a lot of focus too. We see a lot of Clara's innocent side and how she's so willing to trust her dear and faithful friends. We see Spanky being a terrible person, Woldor being a pushover, Toot struggling with her body image while still thinking she's God's gift to men, Xander trying to be helpful but not really doing a good job at it, and of course, Foxy and Captain Hero being promiscuous. I wouldn't expect anything less from them, of course. The only character we're missing at this point is the Jew producer, but to be fair, he hasn't been fully introduced at this point, so that's to be expected. Whenever I introduce people to Drawn Together, I always show them this one because it shows them exactly what they're gonna get later on. A lot of fast-paced and exciting humor with good characters. Speaking of that humor, let's talk about the non-pop culture and gross-out related stuff. They have a lot. And I do mean a lot of banter in this episode, and that's one of the reasons why I mentioned the characters first. In order to do an episode like this, where there's not really a plot, there's just the characters being the characters, they need to be well written enough to carry the entire thing, and luckily, Drawn Together has exactly that. They make them funny, and they make them interesting. I don't really know what else you would want from a show like this. The chill atmosphere not only helps sell the reality show premise, but it's also fun to watch. Seeing these guys bounce off each other in crazy yet also mundane ways is pretty endearing. No joke, this is actually one of the reasons why I say that Drawn Together is a writing inspiration of mine. It's because the show does banter really well. When they have the characters just sit back and talk, or hey, throw them in random situations and expect them to bounce off each other, it works super well. So I'm trying to emulate that when I write stuff of my own. And of course, we can't mention Requiem for a reality show without mentioning the most famous part, the song, the Bully song, which is one of my favorite songs in the entire show. Drawn Together has basically always done songs really well. Every so often they'll have a dud, but for the most part, even in season 3, they get it right just about every time, and nowhere is this better exemplified than in this song. The writing, the vocals, the music, it's all great. My only criticism is that on the official soundtrack, there's an echo added, and I don't know why. It just, I don't know, it kind of bothers me a little, but still it sounds good, so hey, why am I complaining, right? I also have to commend this episode for being an episode of Drawn Together where the characters don't break character once. Every so often, like the interrogation scene in Gay Bash, the characters will just stop being themselves and bend to fit to whatever joke the writers want them to do. Are they funny? It varies. Sometimes you'll get some funny stuff, sometimes not, but still, that's just not good writing. Good writing is having the characters stay in character, unless there's a reason in story for them to not be in character, and no, because it's funny doesn't count. This episode doesn't do that, so yeah, great job. All of these are reasons why I love the episode, and then after that, I decided to watch the rest of the season that night. I saw the other cousin with some decent emotional moments, but also offensive humor that was actually funny. And then Dirty Pranking number 2, which was... And then the one wherein there's a big twist, part 1. Not only did it manage to make fun of Donald Trump way before it became overused and unfunny, but it had some celebrity pop culture related jokes surrounding the entire episode, and it was still well done. Not to mention a great action scene at the end, and yeah, I was hooked. And then don't even get me started on season 2 where we had tons of S-tier episodes like these. Simply put, I love the show. Even though the 3rd season got pretty... I still gotta say I'm a huge fan, and honestly, it's an inspiration for me, like I said, so it pains me that a lot of people paint the show as it's just a gross-out shock show and nothing else. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I didn't like the 3rd season, because I knew that that wasn't true. Could it be shocking and vulgar at times? Oh, absolutely, that was basically the point of the show. But that wasn't all it was. It was witty, it had banter, it had slapstick, it had great songs, and well done animation. I mean, come on, no one gives the show credit, but wow, it looks great. So yeah, I think Drawn Together is a great show. Sue me. But this is the episode that made me love it. Requiem for a reality show. If you're gonna start watching Drawn Together, start here. If you like this episode, you're gonna love what you see next. Well, folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? Have you seen this episode before? What was your first episode of Drawn Together? Comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Real quick, I'd like to thank our Patreon executive producers, Reziel, Leaf Razor, Sophie Burgers, Azarius, Tanner Kapishki, Michael Bellamy, Whoop-Doo, and MD the Dude. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then consider donating to our Patreon, which has a link in the description below. By the way, it's time for our first ever Comment of the Day. This is where we go to our previous review, find our favorite comment, and give a shout out to whoever posted it. So, here we go. The comment of the day goes to Katie Lewis. Frosty the Snowman is Frankenstein, but it's Christmas flavored. Well done. Alright folks, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.